Everyone have some pity for me. Like, this is what Swamis have to deal with. On the one hand, I'm giving lecture, editing some book, dealing with some mature adults, and then I have these two coming.
Teenage problems.
And I was sitting in the press and I was like, try to stay in this mood because you don't want to show her that she's right.
Like, I don't know that parents really always understand what it's like for the kid. They're gonna go to prayers and they're gonna feel good.
The ashram was for me more like something like the kindergarten. It was something my mom goes to, so I go to.
And I think parents sometimes need to hear that. They need to understand, like, it's not as magical in their lives as it is in your head.
In primary school, where people like found out I had this necklace with the sign, then they bullied me.
The more weird you make it seem, the more weird people think it would be. Oh, I don't eat any meat. And she's like, oh, okay, why? And I was like...
It's like really committing an initiation, you know? It's like, it's for life. It's not just a year. It's not just a tilak.
Say, look, I'm too young to make a commitment like this. I feel like I want to have certain experiences in life. And maybe one day, I'll think differently. The problem is not that you feel some attraction for this. It's what do you choose? Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
It's nice to have you both here. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of context before we start. So 1 year ago, it was your birthday.
Yeah.
And I offered him a nice birthday present. I won't name what it was, the birthday present, a material object. And he said he didn't want it. I didn't buy it yet. I offered it. I was going to buy it. And he said to me, I would rather be on your podcast. I'd like to be a guest on your podcast. I'll be honest, my first reaction was, really?
I don't see the reason why.
It's my fault. It's absolutely my fault. For context, I've already done an episode with your father, Sitaram. You guys can go and watch that episode. It's a great episode. And actually, at the end of that episode, he says something that now makes a lot more sense because you're here too. I mentioned at the end of that episode that your son asked to be on my podcast. Now your son is on my podcast, Mr. Sitaram. We have here Shridara, otherwise known as Gonçalo.
Yeah.
And Sitaram's reply was, well, that'd be great. His life is full of joy. And for those of you who don't know,
the same joke the whole year.
This is Lakshmianandani Dasi, otherwise known as Joya, who is his girlfriend. So here, I'm very happy to have you both here.
It's amazing.
It's nice to have you guys here, get another perspective. And before we get going, I think with the topics, that maybe introduce like yourselves, what's your background, where you come from, all of this, please.
Like you said, I'm Shridara or Gonçalo in Portuguese accent, you say. I'm 18, almost 19 in 2 days, and I was born in Portugal. I've lived in different countries. And
which ones?
I lived in Greece for 4 years, and I lived in South Korea for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And yeah, I met Guruji almost 12 years ago, 2012. And yeah, I've been just here ever since. And now I'm here. It's
awesome.
Great.
I'm Joya. I'm also Lakshmianandani Dasi. And I am 18 and I was born in Austria, but came to Germany as a baby. And I grew up here in the area of the ashram, like a village next to the ashram. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've met Guruji when I was 2 or 3 years old.
This is the funny thing. Now this is where I feel really old, okay? Because I know both of you. I've seen you both like since you were really like tiny in your case, and you like 6, 7, whatever. Like, and it's just now you're both 18, 19, and it's I feel old.
But it's the same for me. Huh? You're looking at you because you were also young when I met you.
Younger. It's the. I'll tell you a secret. Every 30-something-year-old person in their head, they're still in their early 20s.
Yeah.
All of us. It doesn't matter who you talk to. We all just refuse to get older. Except me as a Swami, it actually makes sense for me to be older. It's better for my job.
Right? People see you as wiser.
That's it. But amongst you guys, I'd start to feel my age now. So anyway, move on from that subject. So you guys met him really young, right? And I think it's unique. Obviously now we have, of course, a generation of children of devotees who are meeting him young as well. Like there's other people, your peers. I met him when I was 15, and I remember that when I joined, everybody thought that was really young because it was the first generation of devotees. So Guruji already arrived in Europe. Everybody was an adult. Like it was, there are no devotees who have children. meeting him for the first time, right? So I used to be the young generation, and then it's like now we actually see, like I said, people who are really, really young and meet him and then grow up in somehow in connection with this, around all of this. So whatever memories you have from when you were much younger, not now, like the last couple of years or something, like what do you remember of Guruji, of Bhakti Marga, of all of this life?
Yeah, so like you said, I was really young, and I think it was a good point you raised. There wasn't many kids at the time. I could probably say everyone's name right now that I used to hang out with when I was younger, when I first came to Bhakti Marga. I think at the time, more unconsciously, I wasn't conscious of it, but I separated a lot. My school life, even when I was young, from this life. But I was more ignorant. I didn't really know what was going on here. Like, it was Guruji, yes, I knew he was Guruji. I knew my parents were super into it. They trust him. He's a nice guy. He says good things. But I'm too young for this. Like, I was coming to the ashram. I was like, when I was arriving in the ashram, I was like, nice, I get to play football with Noah today. I get to go on a walk with Noah. I get to do this and then, you know, stuff like this. So I wasn't really aware of what was really happening, but I think I still separated because it was so different from what I was used to back in Portugal. Back then I was still in Portugal. It was so different because obviously in school there was no tilaks, there was no devotees, you know, the typical stuff that we see here. There was no temples, nothing like this. So I was still separating, and but there was a switch afterwards. Yeah, but for when I was young, it was more ignorant. I didn't really know what was happening. So
at what age did the switch happen for you think? Like when you started to understand and care more about things, like...
I think when Guruji visited in Greece, to be honest.
Okay.
When he visited us in Greece, I think it was 2018, around 2018, so it's quite late. But he visited us in Greece, a lot of people.
You were like 12 at the time?
Yeah, 12, 13 years old maybe. And that's when I realized, like, this is Guruji.
Makes sense. It's a good age to sort of start to understand things a little more.
Yeah, but when that's when also another switch happened. Then the shame came. But I think get that into a bit later.
Let's unpack that in a bit. But before we go to you in a second, I think, you know, you mentioned there wasn't other people around at that time as well of your similar age. But even then, like even not understanding, even not having this kind of context, do you feel like there was, like you went to darshans or you had these kind of things, to these experiences, did they mean something to you a little extra, or were they just experiences that you didn't understand and it was like, okay, I do it, but...
if I'm totally honest, I didn't understand at all. I wasn't aware of anything. I can remember even here, one darshan here in the darshan hall, that's the only darshan I remember from when I was young, because Guruji made me hold the chandam for about 3.5 hours. And I could see my friends running. And for me, that didn't mean anything. So for you to
it wasn't that spiritual.
Yeah,
got it.
No, not really.
Yeah, for me it was also the same, just that the ashram was for me more like something like the kindergarten. It was something my mom goes to, so I go to. And it was nothing that I would say, oh, now we're going to the ashram. It was more like, no, I don't want to go to the ashram, because you need to sit down in prayers. You need to listen to something you don't understand very long for small kids. And I often fell asleep in prayers because it was just music and I didn't know what to do. And my mom wanted me to stay, obviously.
Yeah.
So the ashram was more something like a kindergarten, like school to go to. But also the change came, like when it became more special, was when kids from school found out that I'm going to the ashram. Mm-hmm. So like, what is this? And making fun of it. Then it was more like, it's not that normal to go there.
Yeah.
But
how old were you then?
Maybe like, 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, you grew up here in the region, and so I think it's just more somehow in the people's awareness, right? Like in Portugal, nobody knows what SBN is. Like it's just a completely different world, right? Yeah, I can imagine. I think it's something funny that you mentioned, like your mom wanted you to be there, right? And it's like, I know so many parents, they come to me as a Swami and they're like, you know, I really want to do this for my kids. I want to make them grow up with this spiritual environment, all this. And I'm sometimes thinking, like, I don't know that the parents really always understand what it's like for the kid on the kid's side of things. Like, because of course, as a parent, you want, like, look, you know, if I had to have a child or whatever, I would want them to be in prayers and I would want them to experience this. And you think that something is happening there. But I just asked you, like, was there any spiritual feeling with these darshans, whatever? And it's like, not really.
No.
Yeah.
Or you didn't want to be there,
Yeah.
you know? And I think parents sometimes need to hear that. They need to understand, like, it's not as magical in their lives as it is in your head. Like, what do you think is happening to these kids? But nonetheless, I will say, Guruji has always said, there is a seed that gets planted there.
Yeah.
And in the case of you both, eventually it led to something, right?
Yeah.
For other people, no, but Guruji also said maybe they'll come back when they're 30, when they're 40, when they've had some experiences, and they'll have that from their youth that's still there somehow, and it's something that they can go back to. But I think it's a nice point. It's a nice point for people to realize, like, look, don't force this on people, because it's anyway a little awkward for them. It's not a easy thing to navigate. And
Yeah,
that's true.
but I also have to say, like, because my mom, it was very stressful at home, because it was just my mom and me as a baby and my brother as a toddler. So it was very stressful, and also for my mom. And she always felt like really good after she came back from the prayers. So she always wanted us, even when we're fighting, because we're, the age gap is not that much. So she wanted us to go to the prayers, calm down, and get out in a better mood. And actually, I remember one time we were fighting a lot, and I was really grumpy. Like, I remember this. I was so grumpy. And then she was like, let's go to the prayers. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to the prayers. And she was like, yeah, we're going, because you will be in a better mood. And I was sitting in the prayers, and I was like, try to stay in this mood, because you don't want to show her that she's right.
Right.
But we came out of the prayers, and I was smiling, I was laughing, because maybe it's also the time that has passed, but maybe also the prayers. And I went out, and after I was like, fuck, I wanted to be like more grumpy, because I didn't want to be right.
Yeah, I think look, I believe in the power of all these things, right? Obviously, like, and so it's like whether we're aware of what's going on or not is another thing. But obviously, something is happening to us. Sure. But it is funny, like I said, like these parents, they sometimes really they think this is like the magic solution. It's like they're gonna go to prayers and they're gonna feel good. Like,
yeah. I think for me personally, I was really thankful for my parents. For example, they told me to be there for sure. My dad was like, okay, you have to be there, but they never told me you have to sit and listen, you have to pray, you have to talk. No, they just said, just be there, and that's enough. For your age is enough. But when I matured, then it switched. But then my dad told me once one really interesting thing. Once I was like really mad, like, why you tell me to do everything? Why do I have to do puja? Why do I have to do japa? And Maria doesn't have to do anything. My sister, you don't tell her to do anything. And he's like, because you and Maria are different people. Yeah. You and Maria have different personalities.
I can vouch for that.
So it's like, he told me like, the way the parents should treat the child, even in terms of this Guruji thing, has to be different, has to be according to what the child is, or how the child is.
But what you see,
know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's touching on, and credit to your parents for this as well. Like, I think a lot of parents in the spiritual path think that it's just a formula. Like the child has to become a devotee, they have to be involved in this, and they forget the individual. Like that there is a whole personality with individual challenges and characteristics that cannot be treated like it's just a number or just an automatic process. And you and your sister are very different.
No, for sure.
Like, obviously I'm more familiar with your family dynamics and everything else. I'm very close with your parents. I'm your sister's godfather. Like it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm well aware of the challenges, the differences. I think you're much more like your dad.
Yeah, for sure.
Your sister's much more like your mom.
For sure.
For good and the bad in both cases, And I think it's to their credit that this was, done in a sense with the freedom for you guys to make your decisions.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was for you. Maybe like what do you feel your mom's role was in terms of your connection to this? Like, do you ever feel pressure? Did she give you your space?
I think there was not that much of a pressure. Just when we were here, she wants me to be in the prayers. But of course, we were allowed to also walk around with other kids, play hide and seek, that I have a lot of memories of. Also because Guruji was around more, kind of. But like of duties and stuff, we did puja at home, but like it wasn't strict that she said you have to. It was more like, if you want to, you can do it. So, and also with the initiation thing, she wasn't like, also a spiritual name, because back in the days you could just go in a darshan and say, what's my spiritual name?
Without initiation.
Without initiation. So she always said, because there was a time I wanted to know my spiritual name, because my brothers had already gotten their spiritual name. And she said, but only if you ask. And I was very shy. So I was like, no, please ask for me. But she was like, this you have to it's your spiritual name, you have to ask. But it was not like you have to ask now because I also want to know. It's more like if you want to know your spiritual name, you have to ask.
It's your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I think like pressure is a funny one. Like I was just thinking as I asked this, like you talking about go to prayers, duties, this kind of thing. But what about like just belief in general? Like, was there ever a point where you actually asked, do I even believe in this stuff? Because one thing is to be here organically, like your parents believe in it, so you kind of participate. Most people's religion is like that. Yeah. Most people, they don't actually stop and think about it. They kind of
they just follow the rules and they don't
follow the parents, follow whatever's around. And if it doesn't make sense, it's like, okay, I'm by default an atheist or whatever. Was there a moment where you guys had to sort of take a step back and think, do I even believe in this stuff?
To be honest, I think it was a really smooth transition for me personally into the I don't really understand what's going on to the I believe. I kind of always believed. I can't tell you why. I don't think there's a specific reason as to why, but I never doubted. I never really doubted until I was older, obviously, but we'll get into it later. But when I was young, I never really doubted what was happening or what was not, because I think it was so normal for me, in a way, to be here. I'm not saying it was normal compared to what I was doing outside, but to be here was so normal. I was brought up here, basically, from a young age. So, and like I said, I think the ignorance is a big factor. I think, I don't know if it's the same for everyone else. Personally, for me, I think the fact that I didn't understand what was really going on, like how deep religion and believing in God and things like this, it's not simple. You need to know. And
you don't learn it at school, especially not Hinduism.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So I never heard of anything like this. So until I understood, it was quite easy. Okay, we believe in this. Do whatever you want. Feel it, not feel it, but I just kind of went with it. So I don't think it was anything difficult or complicated in my belief. Let's just put it this way, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For me personally, it was more like this. I don't know.
For me, it was completely different.
Good.
Because
we can get different perspectives.
I love it.
Yeah, because it was normal, like I said, like kindergarten, to go here, to listen to the stories. It was more like my mom is reading a normal book to me. It's a story. But then there was the thing with the darshan and the bowing down to Guruji. And there is something special. Like as a kid also, I didn't feel anything. It was just, you do it because you do it. But then when my brother decided to not come to the ashram anymore because he's 2 years older, and my mom was always like, I want you to go there, but if you don't want to, I can't force you at a certain age. Like, of course not. And with 15 or something, he said, I don't want to go there because I don't know if I believe in this. And then I was like, do I even believe in this? And I was thinking so much, because in my family, there's a lot of religions, like almost, I don't want to say every, but a lot of religions.
Mixture of different religions. Yeah.
And I was like, in what do I believe? Yeah. And then I was so confused of everything that I've heard from my dad, from my mom, from my grandma, because everybody believes differently. So I was like, what is true? And then I was like, it doesn't make sense. And I first thought like, maybe I don't believe in anything and it's just, they all just tell stories. But at some point I was like, I feel something when I go here. I feel when I look in Guruji's eyes, there is something, and I can just feel it. And I couldn't explain it to myself. And then this faith came by like, there has to be something, because I feel it. I obviously do. And it's just not nothing. So I was like, okay, there has to be something. And that's also why I decided for this way, because I was like, this is what touched me the most. Mm-hmm. I can go to church, I can go to mosques, and it's nice, like nice places, but it's nothing that I'm like, oh my God. But when I go here, sometimes I'm like, I'm sitting in prayers and I start crying, and I don't know why I'm crying. It's just like, so yeah, that was from my side. Like it was, yeah.
It's nice, like it almost feels like it's like we believe in Guruji before we believe in the other ideas or whatever else. It's like sometimes people say, oh, but how did you get into Hinduism? I'm like, well, I got into Guruji first and the other stuff followed. It's like, I'm happy that the other stuff followed. Like, I agree with the ideas. Obviously, I teach all this, but it's like, really, I believe in Guruji first. I felt something with him before I felt something with the other stuff, you know? And it's, I remember being 16, 17, and I go to some darshan with him, and then I'm just in the corner crying. And I'm thinking, like, I'm so glad my school friends are not here. Like, what are we talking about? I'm just sitting in a corner of a darshan.
Because of a guy.
Crying. Just crying. And sometimes it was, like, honestly, I remember one darshan in Switzerland. I cried for like 2-3 hours. Yeah. Non-stop.
Yeah.
And I could not tell you why. I could not tell you what kicked it off. And Guruji would just like look at me once in a while, like he was giving darshan, and he was focusing on the people, and he would just find me on the back of the room sometimes and just like smile a little bit, like enjoying what was going on back there while I was giving darshan, and I'm just there like, yeah. And I think it's really like, it's hard to explain sometimes. Like but like you said, you can't deny what you're feeling, and it's like, if I could feel like this somewhere else, maybe I'd go somewhere else, but.
It's the feeling for sure. Now that you said this story, I remember something. Once I was in London, we were darshan in London. I was maybe 10 years old, 11, something like that. And I saw the person in front of me, the people that were in the line, as I said, they were crying. And I was with my grandma. She's also in Guruji. And I told her, why are these people crying? I would never cry for Guruji. And she said, no, but people,
tough guy.
People feel emotions, people feel this, and like you said, you were young, so you believe in Guruji first, so you get into Guruji first. And I was like, but why would I cry for Guruji? Like, what about him can make me cry? And she said, no, but whatever. Time went on, we went to the line, darshan, we did darshan, no crying. And I was like, you see? And I turned to her and I did like, you see, no crying. And then he did, and then it exactly like this. And then he did like this. And I came close to him, and then he whispered in my ear, you know what? I love you so much. And in that moment, I start bawling my eyes out, and I cried like I said for 2 hours straight.
Love it.
And then you see, that's what I'm saying.
Let's see how tough you really are. Yeah. But it's nice, you know. I think. You know, when you listen from the outside to this kind of thing, people might find it strange. Like, you know, why you just cry randomly? It's okay. Like, honestly, find it strange. I don't mind. The thing is like, I think it's important to share the fact that sometimes these paths, they don't happen because of like a mental process of, I was analyzing this and analyzing that, and then I was studying this and studying that. Sometimes you're just confronted by a person that you stand in front of, and you start crying, and you start feeling things in your heart. And you're like, what do you want me to do about that? Yeah. Like, what do you want me to do about that? Pretend it's not there? Yeah. Pretend I don't feel what I feel?
That's more difficult than...
No, because you have to lie to yourself.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Believing in based on ideas, like people go on the street and they start trying to convert people reading from books and whatever else. Okay, what you're really trying to do is convince them of an idea. Okay, they might agree with you. That you argued it really nicely, starts to make sense, I'm going to follow. This isn't what happened for you. It's not what happened for you. It's not what happened for me. It's someone that just, in a sense, touches you in a place so deep, touches you in your heart, and you just... Like, I'll make sense of this later. Like, it's not... But to deny it, to walk away from it, to pretend it's not the case, I'd have to lie.
Yeah, nothing.
I literally have to become a liar to myself.
Yeah, and this is the case in many cases. If you notice, like, even in Portugal, you know, my dad does Atma Kriya. Yeah. Teacher. Yeah. And the people who
Teacher trainer.
Yeah, and the people who go through Atma Kriya, they say that, like, the best experience always, every time, is... darshan, when they meet Guruji. Yeah. Like, people love Atma Kriya, people love Om chanting, people love knowledge and stuff like this, but I feel like from what I've heard, for example, in Portugal, in the darshan that was last year and this year, like, people love meeting Guruji. I think it makes a difference. It clicks something that might not click with something else, you know?
I think it's how all religion really starts. Yeah. Like, if you look nowadays, yeah, it's books and it's preaching and all of this. But Christianity started because a few people were in front of Jesus and they were like, he's incredible. Yeah. And I feel something, so I want to tell everybody about it. Same thing with Islam, same thing with Buddhism. It's just, here's a person that we think is special, we feel something in front of him, and we're going to now tell the whole world about it. And then eventually, okay, you make it formal and you make it structured and you make it all this other kind of stuff, you know? And I think sometimes people just don't believe that stuff is possible today. It's like, no, that's in the past. And it's like, well... Not really. It's happening here in Springen too, in SPN.
The village in Germany.
Let's fast forward a little bit. Let's do a little jump. So okay, like you guys, Guruji, you start to gradually like flip the switch in a sense of how you feel about all of this. Eventually, Guruji, because you were right in the beginning, there weren't many young people around. True. And Guruji, at some point, I remember I was talking to him, and he said, I want us to do this summer sangha. So this idea of like a youth summer sangha, young people come together and they can, there's lectures, there's programs, pujas, whatever, just get together and live a little bit of this lifestyle and do what this is all about. So let's do it. And so I was part of the team that did the first one. I was in my 20s at that time, so I felt appropriate to be there. It felt right. I was like, this makes sense. Because I think the age, it was like 16 to 25, I think was the first criteria. It was 16 to 25.
I think it was 18. Even the first ones was 18.
It might even have been. Yeah. It might even have been. I don't remember. Yeah. And I remember the first time we did it, you guys weren't there, obviously, but it was this feeling of like, a lot of people came, actually. It was surprising. And I remember everybody there kind of being surprised, like, oh, there's actually quite a few of us. Because a lot of the younger people were living in their own countries, in their own sort of separate environments. And it's like there was no way of knowing that there was like a community of people of a certain age. And he really liked the Guruji. And then he was like, okay, we should do this every year. And so we did it. And the age started to like be a bit more flexible because the parents started, my kid needs to go to this, right? And they got so excited. I remember the parents coming to us like, what do you think we can like talk to Guruji and shift? Like, and it was always the younger ones. Like they wanted their 12-year-olds, like 13. And I was thinking, last time we did it, there was a 24-year-old pregnant woman that came. Like, it just feels a bit weird if there's a 24-year-old pregnant with their car and their house and their job in a sangha with a 12-year-old, like as if they're somehow supposed to be called young people, right? You know what I mean? Like sometimes from an adult perspective, you think, oh yeah, 16, 25, it's, and it's like, ask a 16-year-old how young a 25-year-old is. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, anyway, so we did it. Guruji opened it up, and then I was teaching in these sanghas, and you had like literally 14-year-olds there together with, adults, like straight up adults. Like, but when you guys joined, how old were you when you went to the first summer sangha? You were 14, your first summer sangha. You?
2021. How old was I?
You probably like 16?
15, I think.
Yeah, so you both snuck under the age limit. How was it? How was your first summer sangha?
I was super excited because it was actually Noah's idea the year before. So when we were 13, he was like, yo, let's ask Guruji to go to summer sangha. And I was like, you crazy? We're 13-year-olds. Lalita had just gone. Lalita was like almost 20, if not 20 already. And Lalita's a Portuguese devotee, by the way. Yep. She's great. And Noah was
Shout out to Lalita.
Shout out to Lalita. And Noah was like, no, I'm gonna ask Partha, that's his father. I'm gonna ask him to ask Guruji if we can go this year. And Partha asked Guruji, and Guruji said, they can go next year, right? So this was 2018. He said you can go in 2019. So when I first came, first thought was, wow, this is amazing. So many young people, so many people our age, regardless if it's 24 or 23, right? We're still young in the sense. And I loved it. It was amazing. And okay, I have to be honest. My behavior was not the best. My first year was a bit...
I'll keep quiet for now. Let's see where the stories go, and then maybe I'll chip in from my perspective because I'm sitting on the other side of the problem.
I really thought I was amazing. I started to get a feeling, wow, I'm so great, and but no. Regardless of that,
you started to get a feeling. Listen, so remember when I said that you're like a little bit like your dad? And your sister's a little bit like your mom. So one of those negative traits, right, is this feeling of like, I'm the man, right? Mr. Sitaram, he knows what I'm talking about. It's all good. This kid, when he was younger,
that's terrible. I was so ashamed afterwards.
It was rough.
It was very rough. But yeah, I really liked it. It was really nice. And when at the end, I was very happy, and my dad came to the ashram. I think he was already here, or he came, and he was sitting with Guruji, and Guruji was like, "Oh, Gonzi and Marie, they loved it. They loved Summer Sangha. It was amazing." And Guruji was like, he did this look that he does sometimes, and he said, you know what? It's great when they come here, these young people, because it's the only place in the world where they don't have to wear a mask, where they can just be 100%. They don't have to wear masks. They don't have to lie. They can just be 100% honest about themselves, about who they are and what they're following and what they believe in. And I remember my dad told me this, and I was like, that's true. That's true. And then I was like, that's amazing, isn't it? That, I don't know, I don't remember how many were at the time, but maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
And we don't have to wear a mask, because regardless of where we are at the time outside, we have to wear a mask, because even if we're 100% authentic, there's still this part, which is a big part of our life, which is Guruji, that we're not open about. I'm not saying we have to go out and shout, oh, I'm a devotee, or I believe in Paramahamsa. No, I'm just saying, when we just don't talk about it, it's kind of just there. And that sat with me for a long time.
It's powerful. It's nice.
That quote sat with me for a long time. I still remember. Yeah, like you said, I still remember it now. You know,
I hope so.
Stuck with me forever.
Yeah, I also came to Summer Sangha 2021 because of Noah. Because
Noah's the big evangelizer here. He's getting everybody.
He should be here.
He's not shy to ask difficult questions.
I need to get Noah here.
Yeah, no, but I met them already from 2019, 2020. But like Just and Just Love, also I was very shy, like I said. So I was more like, no. And then 2021 in summer, Noah was like, come to Summer Sangha. And I was like, no. And he was like, why not? And I was like, because you are already a group.
Yeah.
And I'm so shy and you want me to join the group. I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah, you're coming. It's so nice, really. And I was like, yeah, but the problem is I also don't want you to be like, oh, Joya, come, because I know how I am. So I was like, no, I really can't do that. But then he walked to my mom and I was like, Joya is coming to Summer Sangha this year. So my mom was like, yeah, great. So I was going to Summer Sangha and I was really scared. I was so scared, and the first night I was spending alone in the room because I came a night before it started. Nobody was in my room. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm going home. I'm going home again. I'm too scared. But the thing is that I was really like, even in Just Love already this year, they came to me and I was like, okay, before we met, but it's not like we're friends or something. And they came and were like, Joya, hi, how are you? Came like this. And I was like, what? They like
super
me.
Open. Yeah.
And then I felt already, okay, maybe it's going to be a nice summer. And then I went to Summer Sangha and I felt it was also this time where I was like thinking, what do I believe? I'm not sure. And then I was in Summer Sangha and like this knowledge things, like I was sitting there and I was like, this makes so sense. It just makes so sense. Like, how could you even like think this couldn't be real or something? I was like, this makes so sense. So I was really, after this year, I was like, okay, I'm going to read the Bhagavad Gita. I was really like,
we all walk out like this.
This is free year. Advertising for knowledge. I love this. This is fantastic.
I was really like, okay, I'm a devotee now and I want to become a devotee. So I was like, I love the Summer Sangha.
I'm just hoping it was me that was teaching the knowledge.
That year was you.
It was also you.
Yeah, but Summer Sangha is great. I think she raised a good point. To see everyone, it really helps you, or it shows you like, yes, this is a good thing to believe in, because you kind of don't feel alone. Because at the time, for example, when I first came to Summer Sangha, I felt alone in my faith. For example, in school, it was just me and my sister. Yeah. You know, so it's like when you come and see a lot of people, you're like, okay, this is a community. This is a sangha thing. And
you even had your sister,
and even I had my sister. Yeah. Some people they don't have anyone. You see, so it's like it's a really community thing. I think the name, it's perfect, sangha. I think it just shows that okay, you're not alone. A lot of people. This is more normal than you think. Than you make it seem on the outside. You know.
I think it's a really like. It's something not to underestimate, because when I met, was 15, right, and I got initiated soon after, but I messed up. I legit messed up because I was at school alone. Obviously, no support system. I was in the UK at the time, so I was going to school in the UK, and yeah, sometimes being away from it all, and it was like, you know, it's more the mental challenge of having to explain everything to everyone all the time, and we'll tap into this as well. But like, I remember one or two moments where I just sort of said, I still believe in it, but I just don't want the headache of having to stand up for this, or to like argue this, or to explain this. But the crazy thing was that I assumed in my head that people were thinking I'm weird much more than they really were. So a little bit like what you just said, like people are going to find you weird, you're coming from the outside, and they were actually really open in the Summer Sangha. I had that almost reverse. I thought everybody was judging me for like being this weird Hindu boy and whatever. Turns out that when I actually would speak to them about it, eventually something flipped for me, and I just said, who cares? And I started to talk about it. They were all like, wow, that's so super cool. Like, really? Of course, they didn't, have an ashram next to them. Yeah. But they were generally like super respectful. And I realized that it was very much about how I said it, like how I carried it. I was very afraid for a while, because I thought it was going to be crazy and all sorts of problems. And when I finally lost the fear and I just said it with confidence, they actually looked at me like, wow, like I really respect this. This is a principled person with, values and whatever else. But anyway, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, and I don't want to. Let me go back to Summer Sangha. If you had to, like, obviously you went to that one, and then you went to how many more since then? Every year almost?
Yeah, every year.
Same for you?
Every year until last year.
Right. And then
last year, no, this year. Sorry.
Yeah.
This year as well.
Yeah. If you had to like highlight one thing from Summer Sangha that you really feel like has had the biggest impact on you throughout these Summer Sanghas, what would it be?
Like I said, I think for sure the feeling of group, the feeling of belonging. For me, it would be this. If you ask me specific times or times of schedule, I don't know. I think everything is nice. But I think if you look at the bigger picture of what Summer Sangha is, I would highlight the feeling of community, like singing every night together, dancing. It makes you feel like you're in the right place. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. These are my real friends.
Big singer over here.
These are the people I'm supposed to be with, I think it's the feeling of community for me. That's the biggest part of Summer Sangha. It was always for me.
Yeah, I can just say the same thing, because it's really like, here is a bit different because the people know the ashram, but just from what they hear, what they see, but they don't know it because they want to know, because they don't.
Yeah.
And that's why I was always very, very scared and ashamed, very much ashamed. And it just, this or last year, it was the first times that I started to talk about it and to stand up for it and say, like, I'm a devotee.
Do you know what? Actually, let's skip ahead. I want to tackle this topic
sorry
now.
that we didn't say the knowledge.
She already said it. Behave yourself. She already said it. It's too late for that. Don't try me. I want to skip ahead to this, because this is the thing. So obviously I only really started talking to you in the last, year or whatever. Before then, of course, I knew you saw you grow up, but no reason to really interact other than Summer Sangha environments. I've always seen you as a very confident person. That's the way you come across, is what I'm saying, right? Outspoken, etc., etc. This is the way it comes across. But obviously you're sharing that you're very shy and there was shame and all of this. But in a sense, there has to be a reason for this switch. Like, so when do you feel like this shame version of you started to become something else? Has it become something else from your point of view?
I mean, it started off in primary school where people like found out I had this necklace with a sign, and like then they bullied me, kind of. Not bullied in a really extreme way, but like they started saying stupid stuff and making fun of me, and I was getting ashamed of it because people would make fun of it and I was the only one. And so I was like, this is kind of weird, because before, like I said, it was normal to go to the ashram, but then it was like, okay, it's actually not that normal. Not that many people in my environment do that. And they were making fun of me. And so I got more like insecure about this topic. And I was like, I don't want to share it. I don't want to show that I'm going there, that I'm wearing a tilak, that I'm wearing these clothes, and we're singing like in a weird language and this weird music, not used to this. And so it was always a topic, I don't want to talk about it. But then after time, of course, friends know that you're going there, like really friends, not just people in school, and I told them a bit, and they were like okay with it, and some started like, yeah, can I come with you? And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, sure. The problem was that more often the friends that asked me to come with them, the parents didn't allow it, because here the ashram is like a no-go. And so it was more like, oh, I need to be careful, because there are parents that don't allow their kids to go here. And yeah, so it went on like this, that I was a bit more ashamed. But then after time, I was also getting more confident in my person. So, and when people started making fun of it, I was just taking it, thinking like they're just so small in their being that they have to make fun of this. Like, you know, they can't find anything else to make fun of. So
whatever.
Yeah. And after time, I started saying things. I started saying, yeah, but I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't know if you're happy with your life. I just hear you complaining all the time, but actually I'm happy. And I don't know, it just started changing, that I got more confident with everything. And then people started to say things also bad about the ashram in front of me. And that was the time where I was like, okay, let's stop here, because I don't want this. If you talk bad, it's like you talk bad about this, about my mom in front of me. Like, no. So that was the time where it started to change, and I started, okay, I'm saying I am the devotee and I stand for it. And if you don't like it, then I'm sorry, but then you are not meant to be in my life. So, yeah.
It's good. It's powerful.
Very nice. Mr. Gonçalo.
For me, it was a bit different, because, like, you know, I went to about 12 schools in the space of 5 years.
There we have something in common.
Yeah, so
I went to many.
I felt like every time I had, so like I said in the intro, I lived in Greece. So I moved to Greece in 2017, and I moved to Korea in 2020. So I felt like every time I had to switch, I had to say everything again. So when I moved to Greece, I was still in the young age, like, not that I wasn't ashamed of anything, just that my friends didn't really care. All we cared about was we wanted to play football, and that was about it. Like, we were still young.
Guys.
No, come on.
This is guys thing. This is a guy. I promise you, I remember telling one of my best friends, you know, actually, like, I'm Hindu and I'm even thinking of becoming a monk, because I was thinking of becoming brahmachari at the time. And he was just like, that's cool. Can we go play football? I was like, all right, okay. Go. And that was it. And I was just thinking this was like the most deep conversation that was going to happen in my life. And he's, let's just go play football. I was like, all right, cool.
Exactly. So it's like, whatever. So
sometimes men are really not the deepest people in the world. Anyway.
So when I went to Greece, for me, all like just football. That was it. My friends, football, never asked me anything. But then when I got older, and Guruji went to Greece for those holidays, there was a lot of people there. And that's when I started to believe, like I said, that's okay, this is Guruji. I love it. Like, it was amazing. That trip was amazing. He was like super sweet for those. I don't remember how long he was there, but we went on walks like around the Greek, the Athens, like the buildings. Like, it was amazing. He had a nice darshan. But in Greece, there are about 10 Greek devotees, 10, 15 Greek devotees.
Small community.
So it's a very
Christian country.
Very Christian country. So it's a very small community. So I started to hide it. So I would avoid the questions. Like, people would ask me, oh, bro, what religion? Do you believe in God? And I would be like, nah, God, no, I don't believe in God. I don't, God, no, hell no. Stuff like I would completely avoid it. But I was still young. When I moved to Korea, though, that was a bit more serious, because I was already 15, turning 16. And I was like, Korea, I'm not going to tell a single soul that I'm Hindu and that I believe in Guruji. I'm not going to tell anyone. This is going to be my image. I'm going to protect my image. At the time, I was thinking like this. I don't want to be seen as a weirdo or as an outsider. I'm going to just not say a thing. And yeah, until a certain period was fine. But then people started going to my house, right? My house, 20 pictures of Guruji, the altar. Those parents. And then my dad was coaching, and he was going on Instagram Live of the team saying that he was vegetarian and he was a Hindu. And I was like, what has he done? Now I have to explain to my friends that they maybe saw the live, stuff like this. So I remember one day I was coming back and I was like, Mom, my friends are drinking. My friends are smoking. My friends are doing stuff that doesn't align with what I with what Guruji says, but ultimately with what I believe in. You know, what I want to follow. And they keep asking me why, and I keep using football as an excuse, but I don't even play, because at the time I wasn't playing. I don't even play, so there's no excuse. Like, I want to be honest. I want to tell my friends. I want them to know me 100%, and I want them to know the reason why I don't get into this stuff, because I think good to tell people, to share. And my mom told me something that was amazing. She said, the more weird you make it seem, the more weird people think it would be. The more normal you make it seem, so if you talk about it on the open like it's a normal, like you're Christian, I'm Hindu, the more normal people will see it as, you know?
Yeah.
So when I started doing this, it was amazing. And then some stuff happened that my sister had to leave Korea. She had to go back to Portugal. And that's when I was like, no. Maria left because maybe she wasn't being 100% honest as to who she is. So no, from now on, I'm going to be 100% honest as to who I am. And it ended up with my friend doing japa, one of my Korean friends. It was just one, but it's okay. It was just one guy.
Doesn't matter. Like,
and the last day, my dad gave him a japa once, because he was going through some stuff with his dad and stuff like this, and his brother passed away, and he was going through some stuff. And my dad was like, "Try this. Why not?" And he loved it. But I thought he didn't like it. But one day I went to his house and I saw the japa hanging next to his bed and the picture of Guruji that my dad had given him on his bedside table. So I was like, why wasn't I more honest about this from before? Because we love, like you said, it's a feeling thing.
Yeah.
If we share it with someone else, we can maybe give them the opportunity to feel this as well. That's what my dad told me as well. He said, if you gatekeep this, you're taking away the opportunity from someone else, maybe meeting him, and maybe they can feel the same thing you're feeling right now, you know? So that was the start. But then when I went back to Portugal, I went to, and this is school, totally honest. School, I'm Hindu. I showed a picture of Guruji. I showed satsangs of Guruji. The people loved it. The people were super respectful. Because the school I was in was also very open-minded, super respectful. Even the teacher once told me, like, your faith is beautiful. Like, the thing you talk about, your religion is beautiful. The man that you sent us the video from, he's amazing. I love the way he speaks. And I was like, this is nice. But the dressing room of the football team, it's a different environment.
Football dressing rooms are a different culture.
Football dressing rooms are something else, right? So it was a local team in Portugal. Local team. This was back in Portugal, by the way.
Well, shout out to the team. What's the team?
Shout out to the team. Costa de Caparica. We're first right now. So yeah, that. But I was like, I'm not going to tell these guys that I'm Hindu. I'm finished. This is dressing room. This is local Portuguese.
They're going to tease you, bully you, the whole thing.
I'm finished. This is not going to happen. So I went back to the middle. I'm honest. I'm not 100% honest. And this quote from my mom came back, the more normal. And once we were in this, I remember this so well because it was my mom. Once we were in the cinema and we were watching a horror movie, because me and my friends, we love to go cinema, just watch horror movies for some reason. And we were watching a horror movie about an Indian girl, right? And one of the songs from Navarrete started playing in the movie. Completely natural. I started singing along. I don't remember which one it was, but I started singing along in the middle of the cinema.
Busted.
Like, and my friends were like, they looked at me like this, and I was like, damn, I just
gave it away.
I just gave it away. And when I came outside, they said, yo, how do you know this song? And I was like, whatever. And I said, oh, this is my religion. I believe I'm Hindu, and I believe in this guy. And I showed a picture of Guruji. And they were like, wow, that's amazing. And they were like, and one of my friends was like, you know what? I was actually talking about this with my dad the other day. And I was like, what? Because my dad was telling me there has to be something in that family, because their vibe is completely different from everyone else here. And he said, and this guy that you just showed me, I think this is the difference between you and everyone else. The vibe that you guys give out compared to everyone else, I think this man that you just showed me, I think this is the difference. So from then on, sorry if I'm going too long. From then on,
no, it's all good.
I started going, and then, but this was last year.
Yeah. When
I was still in, so in football, you go from junior until you reach the senior, right? Mm-hmm. So this was in my last year of my formation football. This year is senior football. So I'm playing with guys that are 35, 30, 31. and I'm the young guy. So the culture, you'll understand for sure, is the older guys, they tease the younger guys with whatever they can grasp upon. They tease you, yeah? So I got a text message from one of the guys in the team. Yo, I need an assistant coach. Do you want to be my assistant coach for this season? And I said, yeah, for sure, it's going to be nice. Okay, come for dinner. I'm going to make barbecue. We'll drink some beers and we'll talk about what we want for the season. And I was like, I've never met this guy before. I'm going to go in. And then I went, and his wife was like, oh, you're not eating. And I was like, oh, I don't eat any meat. And she's like, oh, okay, why? And I was like, I'm Hindu. I believe in this guy. And I said, this not going to make sense in English, but I can say it. And I was like, oh, what religion are you? I said, oh, Hindu. And he said, Hinduism. I believe in Hinduism, which is the way you say Hinduism in Portuguese. And the guy was like, egoism, which means like
egoism, like,
it's like selfishness.
Yeah.
So they started bullying me, but I was like, this is not bad. I don't mind it. They're teasing me for something, but they're not disrespecting it. So they started to ask me questions. This guy, he was like, oh, but do you believe in many gods? And I was trying to explain to him, no, it's different. Like, the typical explanation that you try to give to this question. And so I passed the stage of this guy only, because this guy I'm very close with. He picks me up to training, takes me home. Like, so him was okay. Everyone else, okay, let's see how it goes. This happened 3 weeks ago. We were having lunch before the game, pre-game lunch, and we went outside. We always go for a walk, and we sit down, and we sat down, and it was me and the rest of the team. I mean, like 18 guys, like this. We were all sitting around, and one guy decides to ask the question, yo, you're vegetarian, why didn't you eat the rest? And I said, yeah, I'm vegetarian. He said, well, you're vegetarian was what, religious reasons? And I was like, everyone like, waiting for the answer. And I was like, you know what, whatever, if they judge me for it, at least I can say that I was honest with myself, right?
Yeah.
And I just said everything. Took out my phone. This guy, he's my teacher, my spiritual teacher. His name is Paramahamsa Vishwananda. Whatever. Then I start talking about it. And yeah, sometimes they make fun of me.
Well, listen, you were going to get made fun of anyway because you're the young guy in the dressing room. So at least let it be for something good, no?
If it wasn't for this, it would be for something else.
Right.
But at least I know I'm on, and they respect it a lot. Respected a lot. Once I told Danny, I was like, I can't go to training because I got this. It was something in the ashram. And he said, well, if it's a religious reason, I told the coach, I can't come to training this week. I have to go to Navarachi to SPN. And he said, I have
to go to Germany to practice my Hindu religion.
To a village.
9 days celebrating Divine Mother. Okay, sorry.
And the coach was like, whenever it's a religious thing, whenever it's a Guruji thing, don't even need to tell me. Just tell me it's a Guruji thing.
Don't have to explain.
And you don't even have to explain. So they respect it.
That's awesome.
So it wasn't bad.
I think it's also a little bit cultural. Like, honestly, Portugal, a little more open-minded than Germany. Because like, I remember Maria with your sister, like her dance mates from dance school, like they all came for darshan.
They did.
Like they were super excited to come for darshan. There was one girl who dreamt of Guruji before even meeting him.
Yeah, that was amazing.
She was like, she had a dream of Guruji, never had seen him, and then Maria eventually, like, again, same says kind of opens up and says, here's my guru, whatever. And she's like, I had a dream with this guy. Starts crying.
That was amazing.
Like, that's the thing. Like, you don't know what's going on in these people. Like, sometimes I'm just reminded, like, Guruji he's not normal. Like, we're not talking about a normal person. This is all not normal. Like, and not in the bad way of not normal. I mean, in the way of like, yes, we're young. Yes, we go through difficulties. We go through challenges. But we're talking about something that's even like, this is the journey of a soul. Like, it's something really on another level. And then you have, like I said, some random girl having a dream with him, and then finding out that it's her dance colleague's guru suddenly, and the next thing you know, they're going for darshan in Portugal. And I was watching the girls getting darshan when I was there, and there was like tons of them crying. They were all crying, like, and the parents came also. Some of them, like, it's I think culture plays also a big part, like the openness of the culture. Germany has its strengths, but maybe that's not one of them. I think for me, like, UK was always difficult because a lot of Indians.
Yeah, but they're frowned upon in the UK.
But it's like, for a white guy to be a Hindu in the UK is weird, right? And so I remember one of my best friends when I was like 17, 18, he was a Muslim. And he like his parents were Muslim. Like I would go over to his house, and one time he let me in, just so you understand how it goes. The parents sort of allowed me in, and he said, "This is the first friend I've ever had stay over at my house," because he had 2 sisters, right? And the sisters basically were closed in their rooms the entire time I was there. Yeah. And I slept over, like I was allowed to sleep over for the night, etc. I saw one of them once by mistake, because she went up in the middle of the night to get a glass of water from the kitchen, and I was awake. And you could see she was like, oh, this was not meant to happen, right? And it was just like, obviously they went to the same school as me. They were younger, but like, it's not that. It's that we were in a private environment. It was at home. It's like, you know, it was a very like, you know, traditional and serious sort of family. They were very respectful. They're very nice with me, and I had a great time. He was... But I never told him at that time about my Hindu faith and all of this, because I thought, of all people, definitely not my Muslim friend. Yeah. Like, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, because culturally it's going to be a bit of a clash.
Also because somehow Muslims tend to travel stronger with their faith. Like, they believe more strongly. Yeah, for sure. Like, my white British friends, borderline, none of them were even a little religious. Like, they didn't care somehow. It wasn't a thing. For them, it was weirder that I didn't drink alcohol and eat meat. The fact that I said it was for religious reasons, they kind of almost didn't care. It was like, you being Hindu is fine. What's weird is that you don't drink and don't eat meat. Like, that's weirder than being a Hindu. But for the Muslim friend, I was kind of like, okay. And then one time I invited him over to my house. Same problem. You get home and there's pictures everywhere and the whole thing. And then we spoke. I told him about it. And I remember, like, we were sitting in my bedroom on the floor, and I was showing him my altar, because I literally had an altar with a deity of Narasimha and a picture of Guruji. And I used to sit and pray. I used to do little mini puja, like I was, you know. And I was explaining all this to him, and he was super curious, and he was super open. And then he started telling me, oh, you know, in my tradition, my parents tell me about some miracles that happened, and I was telling about some miracles that happened. And we were just sitting there suddenly having a talk about miracles and like faith and whatever. And I was like, bro, this was the last thing I ever thought was going to happen between us. Like, honestly, like, he liked to act like he was a bad boy, you know, like, for us to sit and talk about God like this was just never going to be a thing. And it was. And it was because sometimes you got to be brave and just have a conversation with somebody, and you don't know what's going on in their head.
I think when people see the authenticity and they see how honest you are, people respect it, you know. I also had a Muslim friend. He did high school with me, 11th and 12th grade, and he was so curious. He was like, bro, you gotta bring me to the temple. I want to see the arati, because he was Muslim Indian, so he was from India and he was Muslim. And he was like, bro, I love aratis, I love watching aratis. You gotta come, you gotta let me come and watch your arati in your temple. And I said, you can come anytime you want, like there's no need for that. And he was like, I just love how honest you are, you know. And he said that and then I had a Christian friend, really Christian friend, and he used to say that he loves the honesty of people. Like, he really respects another religion, another point of view, because people are so often, when he sits and he sees the honesty, that people are so open and they're so serious about their faith, but honest. He said it was so easy for him to connect with me in that section of, we both believe in God. Okay, you believe in Jesus, I believe in Guruji. It's okay. He said we had so many religious debates, so many with him, because he said that this was the best. When two people are like super open and they don't have issues with sharing what they believe in, that's when the curiosity starts to arise from either of the sides. I'm not saying people just curious about my faith. I'm saying when I saw, for example, my Muslim friend, when I saw him talking so open about their faith and how they view things, I was also curious. I was like, yeah, but what do you think about this? And he was like, oh, we think this. What about you? And this conversation started to arise. And it's so it wasn't mine.
It's funny to see, because I have a very Christian friend, and I also go to her church. She came to the ashram also. And the thing is, when I started to really come back to the ashram, to really start doing something and behave like on this level, no alcohol, no meat, and all of this, we were once sitting down and we're talking a lot about faith and stuff. We're sharing also a lot. But the thing is, one time she sat down and she was like, you know, Joya, the problem is sometimes I'm scared that, because we were friends for so long, we still are. Yeah. But she was like, sometimes I'm scared that when you're so much into your faith and I'm so much into my faith, that we will kind of separate because we won't understand on each other on a level. And I was like, but what exactly are you scared of? And we started talking and starting to compare and see that the most what we are, because she also doesn't eat meat, she also doesn't drink alcohol, you know. And I was like, but it's actually the same but in a different way, you know. So yeah, that's funny to see that they're all so open. I mean, she's also open, but she was more scared in a way.
But I think there are things that will divide us and there are things that will unite us. And it's like, look, we don't have to pretend like the dividing things aren't there, but we can also just choose to stay together for the uniting things. Like I think a lot of it is choice.
For sure.
And sometimes the division happens only because of insecurity. Like, I don't know if I feel comfortable around this person of another faith. And sometimes it's insecurity that I might start to think weird things and I might start to change. And sometimes it's like a protection thing. I want to protect my way of life by staying apart. And in a sense, we do that as devotees too. I know so many devotees that say, oh, I only like spending time with other devotees, which I support. But at the same time, I feel like, but eventually you have to overcome that too, because otherwise it becomes like a comfort zone. Like you're just staying where you're safe, right? But eventually you have to develop enough strength that you can be in any situation, in any environment, like your mom said, and just, this is normal, this is who I am. And it doesn't matter who you are, that's not going to affect who I am, but we can still share and we can have, time together.
Yeah. Sure.
But I think, so we talked a little bit now about, okay, we're Hindu, we have these beliefs and stuff, but there's almost like this assumption that because you're Hindu, we don't drink or we don't eat meat. That's not true. Hindus do. It's more because we take initiation, right? And so we have obviously the initiation vows, no drugs, no alcohol, no meat. Talk me through this, because you both got initiated young, right? And that's rare. I also did. I know what it's like. But I know a lot of people your age, peers, who come to the Summer Sangha also who haven't, because completely understandably, they say, look, I'm too young to make a commitment like this. I feel like I want to have certain experiences in life, and maybe one day, I'll think differently. Yeah. You both didn't do that. Talk me through it. Like, how did you get there? What was your mindset, and so, how has it been since for you?
Yeah, I think the main reason why I decided to get initiated so young was my experience in Korea for that 1.5 years, and the things that I saw. I was like, this is not what I want to live. This is not what I want to do with my teenage years,
Tell me, what did you see? Like, and you don't have to go into detail, but what kind of experiences do you mean? So,
like everyone, like I did, like you probably did, like she did, everyone has teenage problems, teenage dramas and stuff like this.
Teenage problems?
Everyone does it. And
brother, I was arrested. I went to prison.
So
welcome to the Swami Revatikaanta YouTube channel, where we tell all sorts of stories here. Anyway.
Nothing to hide. And the way my friends were coping with it was, okay, let's go out on a Thursday after school and let's just get drunk. And I was like, can I not just go home and sit on the altar and talk to Guruji? Why is that not a better solution?
Be honest, sometimes you wanted to go with them. Never?
Tell me, no, never.
If it's never, tell me never.
Never, because I saw people that I really loved go with this, know? And I was like, no. Just didn't have attraction for it. And like, having to carry my friends home when they're completely blackout, because I don't want to leave them in the street, because I'm not that type of person. Like, I couldn't see them to leave in the street. Big hero. It's not about big heroes. Like, I couldn't do. My mom would kill me if she.
That is true. I can vouch for that too.
If she heard that
Bhakti
someone was
Dasi
needing help,
would kill you. Correct.
If someone was needing help and I didn't help that person, she would kill me. So having to carry my friends in the arm on a Thursday night when I have school the next day, I was like, just no, this is not what I want to do. Yeah. And. But also I didn't want to get initiated because I was like, I have spiritual name. I wear tulsi, because Guruji called my dad in Korea. But the day, like when we were after Korea, he called my dad and he said, your kids have to wear tulsi in Korea. I don't care if they're not initiated. They have to wear tulsi necklace. That's for protection. Just a little background. And I was like, why would I need this? It's not a title, but it's okay. I don't need this, But yeah, it's funny because I was kind of forced in my initiation. So we're getting, is this Navarachi 2022? And Noah again. Noah comes back again. We need to have Noah here. Maybe Noah should have been here today. And Guruji was like, by the way, he finished the ceremony and he was like, by the way, all the people that asked me to get initiated, come to the front. I'll do it right now. And we see everyone in their white clothes, because everyone gets initiated normally dressed in white. Go in front, it was like maybe 10, 15 people. And we were in the back of the tent. And Noah was like, bro, let's go. Let's just go in.
Let's just go.
And I was like, you crazy? We didn't ask anyone. Imagine Guruji sees us and he just tells us to leave. The tent is absolutely packing.
It's a risk, adrenaline. Let's go.
And I was like, but imagine he just initiates us. And I was like, but imagine he just does it, right? And he was like, you're not going? I said, no, I'm not going. And he said, I'm going. And he ran. And Guruji was already speaking to the people, and he kneeled down just like that. And he got initiated. And I was like, damn. He just got initiated, and then
you got left behind.
And then I was like, I should have gone. And then he came out glowing, like, yo, this is amazing. And I was like, does it feel any different? And he said, it feels a little bit different now.
It feels a little bit.
And I said, damn, then I really should have gone. And then Swami Akash appeared. And he was like, what happened? And Noah was like, I just got initiated. And Swami Akash was like, hey, congratulations. And congratulations. And I was like, no, I didn't go. And he said, why didn't you go? And I said, because he just cut the line, and I didn't want to do it. And he was like, no, but you have to do it. And I was like, yeah, but Guruji's already gone. And he checked behind the curtain. Guruji's still there. He's sitting down behind the curtain. And I was like, no, but I'm not going to just go behind the curtain and ask him to when he already did it 5 minutes ago. And I said, no. They grabbed me. So they're both bigger guys than me. They grabbed me one by each arm. And they dragged me from the tent, the tent like this. They dragged me.
To be clear, you wanted to do it. You were just shy.
I was just too shy to ask.
He wanted to do it.
I was just too shy to ask. Because, like I said before, I was mad that I didn't go before, right?
Yeah.
And then they dragged me and I'm there like, shaking my legs like no like, in front of the tent, and then just go behind, and then they drop me they just drop me and they leave. They go somewhere else. And Guruji's like, what happened? And I said, kind of wanted to get initiated, but I kind of missed the call. And he was like, you're not initiated? And I was like, no. And he was like, whatever. And he just initiated me right there. And then I was like, since that moment, I was like, wow, I feel different now. Like, why are you not drinking? I'm initiated. What initiated? It was a start of a conversation, and it could be different. And but like you said, not everyone has to be initiated. Not everyone has forced to be initiated. Like my sister Maria, she's not initiated and I asked her, like, because I'm also a bit judgmental sometimes, and I told her, Maria,
sometimes.
I said,
I don't say anything.
I said, Maria, you have to get. What are you doing? You have to get initiated. What are you doing? And she said, no, but Guruji also told me to experience. And I said, no, experience what? Get initiated right now. Like you know Guruji for a long time. Get initiated. And she was like, no. And then my dad got super mad at me for saying this. Yeah. And I asked him, but Maria has to get initiated. And he was like, you don't know anything about the relationship that Maria has with Guruji. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, Guruji told me, because I also said this to Guruji, why doesn't Maria get initiated? He asked Guruji. And Guruji said, don't worry. When the seed is planted, they always come back. Mm-hmm. So everyone has their timing.
I felt like sharing some stuff about your sister, but I'm just like, maybe I'll end up with her here one day.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
For a podcast. So I'll keep it. Like, we'll talk about it with her one day. But yeah. It's very different.
Yeah, for me, I was drinking alcohol actually for some month, but like this one time was like, never do that again. I will never do that again. And in this evening, I was with that friend who is Christian, and I was sitting there and I was like, I swear to God right now, and normally I don't swear, but this time I was like, I swear to God, I will never drink alcohol again. I won't touch it. And she was like, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm so sure. And then after this, like, because I already told myself I'm not going to do it, and I'm very strict with myself when I do that, I was like, okay, this was all, because it's like really committing an initiation, it's like, it's for life. It's not just a year. It's not just a tilak. It's, it's an initiation.
You notice the difference?
Yeah.
Not like, oh, let's just run in there, like, this will be cool.
No, I was really, and for me, I was
a bit more spontaneous person.
Yeah, he is. No, but I was never sure if I want to do it or when I want to do it. So And people ask me, like, how old are you now? Since when are you, like, Joya, come on, get initiated. And I'm like, I don't know. And then this drinking thing also was left behind. So I was like, okay, then there's just the meat thing. But I was already not eating meat, but it was like, maybe there's once I want to start eating meat again. And then I was like, no, this is also nothing special. Like, I think I can do it. But then it was like, still, like, it's initiation, Joya. Yeah, like, and I was like, no, I think I will just, the future will show. And then I was at this one darshan, and since almost like 2 years, every time I go to darshan, I just cry so much. And I couldn't really tell why, because there happened something that he asked me, and I was thinking so much about it, but I was like, no, so many people are standing in line, he will not talk to me, and I won't ask because, the time. But then he asked me, and I was like, how could he know? And I went out of the darshan, and I was like, I need to get initiation. I don't know why, but I was like, I need to get initiated. And this summer I will.
Day, actually.
Yeah.
I remember.
And I was like, this summer I will. So I went to Summer Sangha, and then... She
looked great, by the way. You never initiated.
She was crying a lot. It was nice.
Yeah.
It's... Like, I hear both of you, and both of you somehow mention, like, people saying, like, oh, you should get initiated, all this. I get it. People of this community, I get it. But at the same time, I always find it like, let's not do that. Like, let's not... I'm a bit hypocritical because I also pushed your parents to get initiated.
No, this is a great story.
And it worked. But your parents, like, full-grown adults, had plenty of life experience. Like, I was pushing them because they were being stupid.
Yeah,
right?
They were delaying it for no reason.
And they were like, they had enough, life experience to know what to do, and it wasn't. But like, when you guys are at your age and people are like, oh, you should do it, whatever. I just feel like it's one of those things that logically, I almost wouldn't recommend it. Logically, I would almost discourage it, because you don't know, man. It's young. It's young. You don't know, like, college is coming, this is coming, that is coming. It's a lot, and like you said, it's not a joke. It's not a 1 year thing. It's okay. This is my vow to God, right? And if I discourage someone from doing this, my experience is like, if they're really meant to do it, and they really feel like doing it, even if I discourage them, they'll do it.
For sure.
Right? I don't need to encourage them, because then I might convince someone to do it a little too early, right?
Oh, for sure.
And so I feel like it's the same thing with brahmacharis, with monks. Like, people come to me and they're like, oh, I want to be brahmachari. And I'm like, no, you don't. And I'm not joking. It's almost like I'm going to discourage you. I'm going to tell you not to do this.
Yeah.
And if you really, really want to, you're going to tell me that I'm wrong. You are going to convince me, but don't expect me to convince you. Like, if I have to tell you to do this,
you probably don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want you to be the person that wakes up one day with regret that I did something and now I have to have this weight. Because initiation, Hinduism, spiritual life, all of this shouldn't be a weight. I know it can be difficult sometimes, don't get me wrong, and we all go through our stuff, but it should be something that I wake up and I'm happy that I did this. Happy that I made this choice.
No, for sure.
She gave her passion speech before. Like, I'm happy, right? And it has to be that way. Like, even if I have challenges in my life, at least I'm happy with who I am, the direction I've taken in my life. Like, I'm happy. Yeah. And if that's not there, it's not a title, it's not a name or something like this. It's going to change that.
I don't think, like I said, me and Noah got initiated that day. We wouldn't have got initiated if we didn't want to get initiated. Because me and Noah are very close. We were always discussing if we wanted to get initiated.
Yeah.
Regardless of what someone else was telling me, in between us, we were always saying, bro, do you want to get initiated? Why do you want to get initiated? Personally, why do you want to get initiated? So that day, it was just that push that we needed. Like, don't be shy. You want to do this. For me, that was the feeling I got. Like, I've been wanting to do this. I want to do this. It was just a little push at the end that I needed to do it. But it wasn't anyone's convincing or anyone telling me that you should. It was it was a very personal thing for me. It was a very personal. Not even my parents. My dad's sentence was true. My dad's sentence was, you get initiated when you feel like you want to get initiated. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to tell you to get initiated. You know what it reminds me of is it's like marriage. There was a couple, devotee couple, and they were like, I don't remember what the context, but for some reason they asked me if they should get married.
Don't ask me why.
Great question.
It's like, yeah, let's ask the monk. So they asked me, and it was a satsang. And their argument was, look, we love each other. We live together. We essentially do everything a married couple would do, but we're just not married. Like, what is the need for marriage? It kind of just feels a little unnecessary somehow, or I think it was the word they used. And I remember thinking about it, and then my mind immediately went to initiation, because I've had people come and tell me the same, like, oh, I love Guruji, I do my sadhana, I don't drink, I don't do this. Like, why do I need to get initiated? What's the difference, right? And I remember telling them, like, if you had been married, you wouldn't be asking me this question. You would know the difference. The act of committing yourself to someone, it's not what comes after. What comes after might be the same as what was before. I'm not saying that. Your day-to-day life will not change 100% or anything like this. But the act of looking someone in the eyes and saying, I promise this to you, like the strength that you get from that promise, from that step, yeah, you don't have it until you make it. You don't feel it until you've done it. And it's not so much from your side. One side is that, but then also what you get back from that, because he's also promising something to you, Guruji. It's not like, Guruji, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a good boy. I'm going to be a good girl. It's like, no, I'm going to be in a committed spiritual journey with you. And he's like, good. And I'm going to be in a committed spiritual journey with you. Yeah. Right? And it's like, I feel like sometimes people make it too much about the rules or even the lifestyle, which I think is wonderful, don't get me wrong. But at some point we have to go back to those tears, go back to the feeling in the heart, like, why am I actually doing all of this? It's not because I think people who eat meat suck or people who drink are the worst. Like, I may not have attraction for that, I may not want to do it, but it's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I want that feeling, and I want to go deeper, and I want to experience what is down at the end of that tunnel somehow. And I remember one time a mother and a father came to me, and one of their children is a devotee and young, right? And they asked my advice, like, look, my child is suffering with the vows, basically struggling, right? Because they haven't, as far as the parent knows, the child hasn't broken the vows, but there's this temptation, there's this difficulty, there's this feeling, right? And they're struggling, and I said, okay, let me talk to the person. Like, they wanted me to give them advice to tell them, and I said, like, look, let me just talk to the person. I spoke to the person. I said, what's up? What's the issue? And they said, I love Guruji. I love all of this. Like, don't get me wrong, but I'm feeling a lot of, I have to be honest, I also would like to experience some of those other things sometimes, right? And I said, but why is that a problem? I'm like, but I can't do it. I took vows. I'm like, no, I didn't say to do it. I said, why is it a problem that you sometimes feel attraction for those things? I'm a monk. Sometimes I feel attraction for women. Yeah. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah. What do you think? My eyes stop working? My brain just dies because I wear orange? Like, what are we talking about here? The problem is not that you feel some attraction for this. The problem is not that you feel this, that, and the other. It's what do you choose? Yeah. Just what do you choose to dive into, to do? And sometimes, you know what I tell myself? It's not that I must hate women as a monk. It's that I must want at least one thing a bit more. That's all. Mm-hmm. I may want that experience, but there's one experience I want even more. And if I have to say no to this one, to say yes to that one, no problem. That's my motivation, and that's what I'll do. Sometimes you go on a road, and you can either turn left to take the mountain road to get to your destination, or you turn right to take the beach road. I can only take one. I can't take both. Now, they're both nice. Mountain road is nice. Beach road is nice. But I have to pick one. And it's not because the other one is bad. It's because I have to pick one. And so sometimes, and my advice to younger people is this: when you make your life choices, don't think only about what you're choosing. Think what you're also willing to sacrifice. If I choose to go right, I have to accept myself. That means I'm not going left. Right? And that helps people make a more complete decision, because sometimes it's like a little bit that thing in the moment, you're like, oh, this is cool, I want this, but you don't stop to think, okay, but if I choose this, I'm saying no to this. Yeah. Right. And so I just think sometimes people need to hear these things and like understand at a bit of a deeper level, like, look, it's okay to go through these difficulties, it's okay to feel this and feel that, but just sit down and remind yourself, what do you want more? And if one day you wake up and you want that thing more, than this connection and this vow and whatever else, no problem. Be honest about it. Go to Guruji, say it, and you'll have that experience. No problem.
I think you touched a really nice point there. You said it's the choice. Like, it's okay to want to do these things or to feel tempted to get into these things, but it's a choice. Like, you want something else, right? And I think personally, since my initiation 2 years ago, the vows was the easiest part in a way. Because, like you said, what I always tell myself is, it's a choice. I can feel tempted, but I can say no. It's not because I used to feel really guilty. I don't think it was this situation specifically, but other situations as well. Yeah. The reason I felt tempted, I always feel guilty just because I felt tempted. And I was like, and I was feeling bad by myself. Like, no, why do I feel tempted? It's normal to feel tempted. You just have to have a choice, and you have a choice, and everyone, and I have the choice that I don't want to drink because I took initiation, right? And because I'm looking past the vows. I think you said this, and it was really nice. We can look past the vows. What's the bigger picture? And I think that's what's hard.
Yeah,
that's what's difficult. It's to what's afterwards. What is afterwards? The connection. For me, it's more difficult to really feel, because as a devotee, I like to feel that Guruji is with me at all times. For me, it's more difficult to feel Guruji with me at all times than to say no to alcohol, personally. I think that's the bigger challenge. What's after this vows? What's after this rules? I think for me personally, I think that's the biggest challenge about initiation in young people, because we're not mature, you know?
No, really.
Not mature in life.
This was a very mature thing for you to say.
You know? No, I don't think I'm mature in life, you know? And it becomes difficult sometimes.
No, but I like a lot what you said, because I think sometimes we focus on the wrong thing. We focus on the rules, which is what you can't do. We're not here because of what we can't do. We're here for what we want to do. Like, and I feel like sometimes we forget the values. You know, like, I want to live a value-driven life. Like, I want to be loving. I want to be kind. I want to be respectful. I want to be honest and sincere. And it's like, okay, that's who I want to become. Now, don't focus on who I'm not trying to be. I don't want to be an angry, drunk, judgmental, dependent person. But it's like sometimes we give way too much importance to this here, the not allowed stuff. And I'm like, well, this is just the stuff I want out of my life. Like, why don't we talk about what I want in my life, the things I actually want to become and be? And I think that's just where the focus has to be. And one of the advices I got when I was younger was, remind yourself as often as you can why you're doing this. Because one day you might wake up and not remember why. And then in that day, it will be hard to keep your vows. It will be hard to keep your sadhana, your discipline. Like Guruji says, do japa, read this, watch satsang. If you don't remind yourself why you're in this, sometimes it's like, well, why would I have to do that japa again? Like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? It
becomes instantly more difficult automatically.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like, you need to somehow...
like you have no reasoning as to why you...
Motivation will drop. Yeah. All of that will drop.
Yeah, it's true.
How's your puja going?
It's not bad. It's quite good. Doing everything. No, but this is actually, you want to talk about this? We could talk about this.
I wasn't saying it as a challenge. I was saying it like, how's your puja going?
So I feel like, I don't want to say I was testing, but for example, for me personally, and I think it could be different for her, it could be different for everyone, but for me personally, when I don't do puja, forget it's over. I become the complete opposite. My mom calls that the old Gonzalo. When I don't do puja, imagine.
Tell me about the old Gonzalo. I want to see if we agree on what the old Gonzalo was like.
So,
because I know one very key characteristic of the old Gonzalo that I very much don't want in the new Gonzalo. But tell me, what do you think it is?
The old Gonzalo doesn't know how to not answer and not respond.
This is very true.
Yeah, that's great.
So he doesn't know how to shut up sometimes. He always has to say something back. So I spent a lot of time in your house, obviously, when we were traveling through Portugal, doing events. I'm very close to your family, as I said earlier. Sometimes your father's telling you off. Sometimes your mother's telling you off. Sometimes even I had to say some stuff to you. And he just always has an answer for everything. So, new Gonzalo.
Do you remember once in the house, my mom was killing me, and I was just like, "Swami, Revatikaanta here. Let me say something smart. Let me show some intelligence on my part." And then she said it. I answered, and then he was like, "Come here," and I was like, thinking, "Yeah, it was great." And he was like, "Sometimes you you just don't need to talk, man.
Just shut up. Just shut up.
And I was like, great.
I have the best teacher, Guruji. Like, it's like, if there's one person that you shouldn't talk back to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But one of the things that I got with initiation was, and also because of my dad, you know how my dad is. I created a routine. Mm-hmm. And my routine has to include my things, my sadhana, my kriya, my puja, my japa. This is the 3 things I try to do every day. Sometimes I miss, but I try to do every day. Mm-hmm. And when I don't do it, if I don't miss the puja one day or 2, one day no, but two or more days, it's over. I start to like be mad at everything. Everything triggers me. Everything gets me going. Everything is like, no, it's just, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same with school. In university, now that I'm in university, I create my routine. Now I go in the university that's far away from my home, so it's another challenge. And my dad was like, no, but. And I was like, nah, maybe I don't do puja every day now because I have to wake up at 6
to get the transport.
To go to public transport to university. And then I was like, no.
You wake up earlier.
And even if you have to take out 20 minutes of studying to do puja, you do this. Because everything else in your life is going to be way more effective if you follow your sadhana.
Well, put God first.
If you follow your sadhana. I think this is what also something that the initiation brought me, you know? My routine, I felt good. From that moment on, I clearly felt the difference from when I do my sadhana and when I don't do my sadhana. And like I said, that goes way past the I don't want to drink alcohol. Like
that's,
you know,
people make it so much about that, but like I said, it's really just one side of the coin. Like there's a whole other side of it. You know, I think initiation sometimes also it brings a pressure, but it's like. There's unhealthy pressure and there's sometimes healthy pressure. Sometimes it's good to have a bit of pressure. It's like, okay, like there's this demands something of me. Like I have to strive to be something. I have to try my best to be something more than I was yesterday or whatever. And I think it's a good thing. I think everybody needs to be pushed.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think sometimes this devotee life pushes you in a healthy direction.
I don't know if it was my dad, but it was someone or I read somewhere, something like this. And I said, no, but I don't like, it makes me really uncomfortable. And my dad's answer was like, why is it bad?
What makes you uncomfortable?
Like I was something else. I was like, this makes me really uncomfortable. But I'm saying I think it applies to this also.
Right.
He was like, and I was like, this makes me really uncomfortable. And he said, why is it bad to be uncomfortable? It's not bad to be uncomfortable. You don't have to be comfortable in every situation in your life. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. You know,
well, it's challenging. It's just
challenging.
Growing.
This little out of my comfort zone sometimes that people our age may experience through initiation. It's good. It's good to give, like you said, a little motivation, little pressure that motivates you a little bit. You know.
Look, I think one thing that the 3 of us have in common is when you do get pushed like this from an early age, right? You just have a head start on everybody else because. Truth is just that everyone, no matter how old you are, you come into this path, you have to be pushed. You're going to have to be taken out of your comfort zone. You have to be challenged. You have to break patterns and whatever else to really go to another level. And it's like, the earlier you start, the better. Why not? Yep. Like, it's like, I don't need to waste time, you know. And I think Guruji, he so often talked about it. He talked about it yesterday as well. My job is to challenge you. My job is to push you. And then I think the job of us, as a community, as a mission, is to create an environment where we get to support each other while that's happening. Because if you're left alone, as we know, it's just 10 times harder. Yeah. So we can be there for each other, sharing the lessons, supporting each other in some way. We can go through that necessary discomfort to get to where we need to go with as little difficulty, unnecessary difficulty as possible. And I think that's beautiful. I mean, when Guruji found out that you two were together, for example, he was super happy.
Yeah, he was great.
It was great. This guy was so nervous. He was so nervous.
I was like, no, I don't.
Tell us the story, Gonzalo. Go on.
About the last year, December.
Yeah.
Okay, so last year in December, in August, actually, I started liking Joya here, and I was super uncomfortable.
You don't need to go into details, huh?
Yeah. I was super uncomfortable.
It's a spiritual podcast.
Yeah, I was super uncomfortable with it, and but yeah, whatever. And then this was December, and we got together, and I was like, and this was my birthday. This is my birthday last year, 28th December last year. And I knew from the afternoon that I texted Guruji asking him if he wanted to come down to. We were having a little pizza,
party.
yeah. And I was like, and he was like, no, don't worry, it's okay. I have to go for darshan now, but you can come have dinner with me later. And I'm like, okay, nice. But this happened, right? I was with Joya.
This happened.
I was with Joya, and I was like, I don't want him to talk about this. This is gonna make me so uncomfortable. So when I go back to the ashram, I ran to Swami Revati's room, nervous.
He did.
I was like, Swami Revati.
No, first you wrote to me, you called me. I can't remember what it was, and you were like, "Can I come and see you? Can I come see you?" And I was just like, I was in the middle of like work. I was editing a book or something. I was like, "Yeah, go on."
And I was like, and I told Swami Revati, I was like, I'm going to Guruji's house. Yes, please do not mention Joya. Please, I beg you. I don't want to talk about it. I do not want to talk about it. It's making me uncomfortable. Yeah.
You were afraid Guruji was gonna judge you or something like
why are you doing this here? This is not the place for this and stuff like
this. This is an ashram. What's going on here?
Like so I was like, don't talk about it. And then the night was going amazing. Everyone was quiet. No one was asking me questions. And then Guruji said, happy birthday, whatever. Then we were watching something on the TV. He was having dinner and we were watching something on the TV. And he goes, so, Gonzi, what did you do for your birthday? And Swami Revati goes, like this. And I was like... I
wasn't the only one. Swami Akash was also there.
They started like this. And Guruji's like...
Rishi Jayagopal. It was a whole crew of us. We all, come on.
You know, and Guruji goes, what? Like, he wants to know, what?
Oh, Guruji wants to know all the gossip.
He loves it. But then my luck was that in the TV, there was some big noise happened, like an explosion or something. And then he focused back on the
Distracted.
TV. And I was like, it's great. But then in August, he was coming for darshan in Portugal this year. And he was staying in my house, and my dad was like, it's unavoidable now. He's for sure going to ask you, because I was already like official with Joya and stuff like since last year. So it was like we were properly dating now. She's my girlfriend. And he was like, you cannot avoid it. And I said, no, I'll avoid it as much as possible. I won't talk about it. Don't worry. And he was like, unavoidable. First night, the second I got there. So I hear you have a girlfriend. And I was like, oh.
I mean, some people might have told him, like.
Some people in Orange. And I was like, yeah, she's great. And then he told me, it's nice that you guys are devotees and you guys are coming together.
Yeah.
Because this makes your spiritual path stronger as well.
I just said,
besides the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, nice.
He's a fan. He's a fan for sure.
I have to add to the story.
No, wait.
Please do.
Because like, it was women darshan at this day. And I was feeling so bad. Can I tell a bit more?
Go for it.
Okay. Because I was feeling so bad. All my friends were first shift, but I was second. So I got ready and I was so early. I was just sitting down in the lobby and I was waiting with the tilak, with the sari and everything. And then I was sitting on the floor and Viksha went by. He was like, Joya, what are you doing? Where are the others? Where's Gonzalo? And I was like, well, I'm waiting for the darshan. They're in the room.
I was in Swami Revati's room.
He was in counseling over here.
And he just passed by. And then I saw him on this phone. But yeah, later I found out that he texted Gonzalo or something. And so like a minute later, Gonzalo was like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm sitting in the lobby. What are you doing? And I'm waiting for darshan, like for my shift to start. And he was like, no, come, let's go. And I was like, what? Where? And he was like, to Erika, we'll come and get some stuff. And I'm like, I'm waiting for darshan.
This is the support you give? This person's waiting for darshan?
And they were like, yeah, but it will be so long. And I was like, what am I doing? But I was like, okay, I think these 15 minutes, it's okay. So
this was before.
Sorry, Tilak. This was before the room. This was before the room.
I was not connecting the dots.
No, you came to the room after Edeka.
It was after Edeka, yeah.
Because then we kissed, we came back, and I was in the car. I was like,
the shame.
Joya, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, no way. No way.
Please, everyone have some pity for me. Like, this is what Swamis have to deal with. On the one hand, I'm giving lecture, editing some book, dealing with some mature adults, and then I have these two coming
teenage problems
with like, oh my God, Guruji, what is he gonna say to us? You know, doing all this kind of stuff.
But like, and then we were driving back, and we decided that Gonzalo wanted to.
On the way back, I was like this.
Yeah, he was quiet, but like quiet. And we decided that Gonzalo is going to tell Noah.
Noah's also there in the car.
The evangelist. Noah the evangelist.
Noah. And we drove back and the car stopped. Gonzalo was jumping out of the car, running. And I was like, what is going on? Like, and then Noah was like to me, Joya, come, tell me what happened. And I was like, just quiet. And he was like, Joya, I tell you, he was really getting like sad. He was like, I always tell you everything.
Oh, some emotional blackmail.
Yeah. And I was like, he wanted to tell you, so I went. And then it was darshan. And I was in the darshan. Guruji came. It was dynamic darshan. I was just like there. And he was looking into my eyes, and I was like, okay, Joya, concentrate into his eyes. And he was just laughing. He was just like,
Guruji loves this stuff. Of course he loves this stuff. You guys, pure comedy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, look, let's wrap this up. I want to ask you guys something, which is, if you had to give one advice, somebody your age, somebody who's whatever, maybe they're attracted to this, they have interest in all this, what would you say is something that they need to understand or to hear, to listen to help make the next step?
Good question.
Whatever comes, it doesn't have to be anything.
I would say to someone who's new, I would say do your thing, as in like take your time, feel what you want to feel or what you feel like you're feeling at that time, make your decisions. I feel like that's super important. I think that's the most that resonates. If you ask any young people, I think everyone has their different stories in this path, because everyone took their time. Everyone interpreted their feelings differently in a certain moment. I'm sure if you ask Noah, he's different. Zoe's different. Everyone is different. So I think I would say to someone our age, I would be like, take your time. I know you're young, but I wouldn't get influenced by anyone that's not Guruji, for example. If he says do it, but take your time and do your own thing. That's my advice. That's what I would say.
I would say also don't get pressured by other stories, because often you hear because to me, I just have small stories, and others have where you're just sitting like this and you're like, that happened, like miracles and stuff like this. And sometimes I was like, that doesn't happen to me. Do I not feel anything? And it was more this, don't compare yourself. Because it's your own path and you have to feel it on your way. You can't compare it to someone else.
That's awesome. I like that. And I think it's everything you guys shared today, like people coming into this environment, you'll make friends. You have a community. The people will support you. You will have your time. Nobody's really ultimately pressured to do anything. And as a great advice. That's great advice. Don't compare yourself. I like that a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Both of you.
It was amazing.
This is a fun conversation.
Thank you.
Chegudev.
Chegudev.
See you.